Hello and welcome to my guide to Upper Blackrock Spire at level 90. Now the reason why I'm doing this guide is twofold. A, it's of course a new bit of content, so hey, guides are fun, but also I want to get a little bit of practice in before Warlords comes out. The WoD heroics are actually decently challenging, same goes for the challenge modes, so I will be doing full video guides on them. Any feedback that you have based on this guide would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, now that that guff's over, let's move on to the instance. So the initial trash really isn't much of a problem. Essentially, the only dangerous thing is the Black Iron Grunt. Now what they do is they summon a rallying banner, and what this banner does is that over time it will have this radius, like circle thingy, that will expand. And when it finishes its cast, it will aggro any mob within that circle, so you really need to make sure that you destroy that banner. Let's talk about the very first boss. So this is a decently fun boss, and the fight actually takes place in the center of the room for the most part. There are a bunch of lightning conduits which are spread around the room, and also during the fight, you will see two orbs of lightning that will kind of rotate around the room. The main mechanic of this fight is that the boss will empower these conduits. Sometimes it's just one or two, but sometimes it can be many. When this happens, she will start doing a pulsing AoE to anyone who is on the platform, and she will also gain a damage reduction buff for every active conduit. So therefore it's really important that you go down and turn off the conduits. Of course, the mobile classes like say Hunters are definitely best for this. You want to just hop off the platform, click on the conduit, but then of course just be very sure that you don't end up getting hit by one of the lightning balls, and if you do have to run through a lightning ball, then just be sure that you use some sort of, damage mitigation ability if it's something that's easy for your class to do. Other than that, the boss does do one or two little things. There's an ability called Shrapnel Nova, which you're supposed to just run away from, and then finally there are these things called Lodestone Spikes. You just don't want to stand in them. Basically you'll see a little rumble underneath you and it'll fly out of the floor and hurt you, so don't get hit by that. And then finally she will do Blade of Steel, which will simply just hurt the tank. Overall, it is a pretty simple fight. Just don't stand in the various forms of crap, and actually be on your game and click on the damn conduits. The second boss trash is actually used to introduce a few mechanics that you will face in the upcoming fight. The smaller engineer mobs will do a thing called Debilitating Beam. Now this will essentially just do a lot of damage to you, so you want to interrupt that. And then also there will be alchemists, which will do a self-heal that can be removed with things like Trank Shot. Finally, there are these big ads. They're also pretty easy. You just don't stand on the thing in front of them, and beware that they do a cleave attack. Alright, so the next boss is actually quite fun, and you'll find that the boss is actually joined by two ads. I'll cover the boss's main ability first though. He's got this thing called Debilitating Fixation. Now this will channel and do a lot of damage onto a player. The good news though is that it can be interrupted. However, for the first section of the fight, this will be mainly the responsibility of the tank, as the DPS will be busy killing the ads. Though throughout the fight, of course, if you are DPS and you are able to, interrupt this beam, then absolutely do it and help out the rest of the group. Now, throughout the fight as well, the boss will put these green blobs on the floor, so you'll just have to watch out for them and not stand in them. They do happen quite rapidly though, and the blobs will appear underneath your feet. Now, the ads can be quite dangerous, and that's why they are an absolute priority for the DPS. They do a cleave, and then they also do a straight line AoE on the floor. Of course, by the time you actually get to these ads, you will be familiar, because they are just copies of some of the trash that you previously dealt with. The DPS should just burn these down one by one, as the fight becomes far more manageable once they are dead. Now finally, the boss does have a self-heal. It's the sort of thing where you can remove it, and of course it will benefit you, so if you are able to remove a magic effect, say with a Trank Shot or something, then absolutely do that. So basically, the TLDR of this fight is burn the ads, interrupt the beam, and don't stand in the various forms of crap. The trash in between the second and third boss can actually be a little bit annoying. I recommend doing a line of sight pull, just so that you don't get feared. The Black Iron Elites actually have a fear, and they also have a charge which will knock someone back, and they can be a bit problematic. So yeah, you need to watch out for that. Now there are these big ogre guys. They do a front cone smash thingy, so just don't stand in that. So like if you're the tank, face it away from people. Overall though, the trash is not particularly hard. Just do bear in mind that this is not a kind of like Pandaria heroic, and it's probably a bad idea to pull multiple packs. The final boss of the level 90 version of Upper Blackrock Spire is Commander Tharbek. Of course, in Warlords of Draenor, you will get access to the next two bosses, which, by the way, are really cool. So yeah, this is actually really one of the less interesting fights in the instance. So what you'll find is that you've got to deal with some, just, a few waves of ads before the boss. Not really a massive problem though. Now, when the boss appears, he will be mounted on a Rylak. Now, this Rylak does a lovely cone attack, which actually stacks up a ticking dot on you, so don't stand in his cone attack. And then also put some, green gloop on the floor, which again, you shouldn't stand in. I just recommend burning down the Rylak as quickly as you can, and then moving on to the boss. Now, the boss is called Commander Tharbek, and he really is quite simple. He does a charge ability, which will just, cause him to run at a ranged player, do a bit of damage, knockback, etc., the whole works. And then he also just does a melee with a bleed mechanic. These are things which you will hardly notice. The thing which you will probably notice is the imbued Iron Axe, which is just the same as General Nazgrim's Ravager. Just don't stand in it and you should be fine. Okay, that's basically it for the guide. So any feedback, as I said, would be great. Once Warlords of Draenor comes out and these are available at hard difficulty levels, I actually do want to be able to make good guides for them, so it really would help me out. Now specifically, I'm thinking of just spending a little bit more time on the layout and the overlay and all that stuff, but in general, this is roughly the flow that I'd like to go for a dungeon guide. Of course, raid guides are going to be a lot more in-depth and all that stuff, but really this should be all that you need for a dungeon. Anyway, let me know what you think, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.